Did you see the show on PBS this weekend? It was last night, actually, the documentary on the Dust Bowl of the 1930s. Louise and I watched it. It was absolutely brilliant. Ken Burns' brilliant look at one of the worst man-made ecological disasters in modern times. It was just breathtaking. During the Republican no-regulations bubble, here's how the story plays out. During the Republican no-regulations bubble of the 1920s, the Harding, the Coolidge, and the Hoover administrations, commodity prices, particularly wheat, were bid up to the point where thousands of farmers flocked to the Midwest and used mechanized plows to break open tens of millions, perhaps hundreds of millions of acres of virgin prairie land and convert it to fields for growing wheat. Now, the buffalo grass that had covered the plains and the buffalo that grazed on it and fertilized it had helped hold moisture in the earth to produce a viable layer of topsoil for, centuries, millennia. But when the farmers turned this over and exposed it to the sun, combined with a decade-long period of episodic drought, it all turned to dust that was picked up by the wind and destroyed farms and towns, destroying fields and killing livestock and humans alike. And it took many, many years for things to get better. Finally, the mid-1930s, scientists figured out how humans had screwed up their environment. And FDR, in 1935, pushed through programs to pay farmers to conserve the soil, and he used government money to buy back farms from distressed farmers so that the land could be returned to the wild where it would hold moisture. Then in 1937, FDR pushed through a program called the Shelter Belt. This is a program that would plant trees and other soil-holding vegetation on a 100-mile-wide belt that stretched from the Canadian border to Texas. He wasn't building an oil pipeline. He was planting stuff. They couldn't get it funded as an emergency appropriation, so in 1937, FDR put the WPA, the Works Progress Administration, to work on this as well. And between planting trees, the Shelter Belt, and new ways of plowing that the Roosevelt administration were recommending, they reduced soil erosion by 65%. So a disaster that took us 2 or 3 decades to create was largely resolved in 1 decade, although the human and environmental toll was awful. But all this points to 2 future issues. The first is our current problem with global warming. The reality is right now, dust bowls are emerging all around the world. Although with their opposite, or along with their opposite, flooding of coastal areas as a result of both unsustainable agricultural practices. The world is pushing over 7 billion people. In 1930, there were only 2 billion people in the world. And global warming. Second problem is the whole variety of problems associated with global warming itself. From more powerful storms to melting glaciers, which is particularly disastrous in mountainous areas. Now downstream from these melting mountain glaciers, you have alternately flooding and then withholding water, drought from the downstream population centers. Even the World Bank has now weighed in on the topic, and a new report just came out titled "Turn Down the Heat: Why a 4 degrees Celsius Warmer World Must Be Avoided." That would be 7 degrees Fahrenheit. The World Bank warns that this is the World Bank, get this. Paul Wolfowitz's old organization warns that the temperature increase will be felt most along the equator in the Mediterranean, North Africa, the Middle East, and parts of the United States. This temperature increase is going to lead to scarcity in water and food resources and disruptions in biodiversity. In fact, it already is. And it will force even worse mass migrations of people out of affected areas. Rising temperatures are also going to lead to rising sea levels, and they already are, which threatens cities located in India, Mexico, Vietnam, as well as several African nations. Several small islands around the planet will likely be unable to sustain their populations at all by 2100 as a result of this rapidly warming planet. These threats, caused by our relentless pushing of billions of tons of carbon into our atmosphere every hour, may well be the subject of a future Ken Burns-type documentary. Just think about this. Just imagine you're 50 years in the future, and you're watching a documentary on how humans destroyed the planet and themselves in the 20th and 21st centuries. Of course, that just the ability to sit around watch it on TV. 100 years from now assumes that this future Burns-style piece will have the same happy ending that the Burns piece on the Dust Bowl did. That is, hey, we figured out what the problem was and we solved it. We stopped doing that stupid stuff. Because if not, there won't be a special. There won't even be TV or the civilization that supports TV. So the question, will we begin working today, as hard as FDR did with the Dust Bowl in the 1930s, to solve the problem of too much carbon in our atmosphere? Or will it destroy us and everything we've built with 10,000 years of what we call civilization?